And welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part, so make sure you're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. If you'd like to support the channel, head on over to TheIndianJesus.com for your very own official merch. Valentine's Day is coming up. You can get a card, a greeting card for your girl, for your mom, whoever, at TheIndianJesus.com. Guys, we do also have a Discord server that is absolutely free to join 24/7. We are in there hanging out, having a great time. It is a great place to meet new people, have interesting conversations, and like I said, it is absolutely free. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you can scroll right below the video, hit that join button. There's a few different tiers here, but it starts at just $2.99 a month. Gets you members-only live streams here on YouTube and all that other good stuff. But it also opens up the full Discord server, guys. That's right. There's more than just the free chat. There is the free chat, but we've got other channels as well, including the After Party channel. So as soon as we're done here on YouTube, we head over there. We don't got to worry about any YouTube censors, anything like that. You are not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. It is a good time. Definitely come and join us. And we got our co-host joining us, Morty the Overlord. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Of course, every donation comes with a treat for Morty. Who else we got? Shout out to King Nirvana in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Very good to see you guys. And I'm very excited to share this one with you. Tucker Carlson and Piers Morgan did kind of like a two-parter. Why is my camera off center? There we go. There we go. They did like a two-parter, part on his channel, part on Piers's channel. But I wanted to check out what they were talking about on Tucker's channel, because they were really discussing an area that isn't really my best. And they're talking about foreign aid and war powers and all that kind of stuff. And to have two people who definitely know what they're talking about, but are coming from two very different perspectives, I thought it was very, very cool. So let's dive right in. As always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
So I want to be cool because we hate Putin. That's not totally cool, is it?
So
I love Tucker.
would you just let Putin take Ukraine?
I would say,
Again, this is the second time you've asked this question. What do you mean let him? We're not his daddy. We're not his daddy, and we're not the world police. So, no, we wouldn't let him do anything. He's just going to do what he's going to do. Bob said, I like Piers' interview of Tucker more than Tuck's interview of Piers. Yeah, I mean, I was deciding which one. I didn't realize at first that there was two different pieces, but this one just seemed like a little bit more outside of my wheelhouse, and neither of them were really in my wheelhouse. And so when you got two minds like this, I'm like, let's get the what we can learn more from. So instead of me being some type of authority here, I just thought I could learn more from this, and maybe you guys could learn more, or you could teach me. So maybe we'll do the other one on a different stream. Shout out to Dylan Soup. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Very good to see you again, guys. If you hit that like button on the way in, I would very, very much appreciate it. Mike W said the United States doesn't need NATO. NATO needs the United States. Yup.
let's have an election in Ukraine and let the Ukrainian people elect their own leader and get rid of the midget dictator who now oppresses them, Zelensky. And
Hey. Short Kings for the win.
I would definitely not support a guy who's not elected as a democratic figure, because by definition, he's not. By definition, I don't care who his enemies are. He's not worth calling a beacon of democracy if he doesn't even have why not have an election in Ukraine today? Because we've got a war. We had elections in our country during the Second World War. So did you.
Yeah, right. How dare you? Yes, shout out to anybody who was affected in the Philly accident. I don't know, was it a plane? Was it something else? I don't really know, but something went down, and hopefully everybody is all right.
Like, why not hold him to democratic standards?
I've got no problem with saying he should have an election.
What about banning a Christian denomination?
Yeah.
Matthew King says, this is a leftist argument. If you don't stop something, then you must approve of it. Bingo. When really, maybe we just don't want to get involved because it doesn't affect us. Exactly. And I feel like I feel like Tucker's been pretty clear about that. And we come back to, why are you letting him do this? What? What do you mean letting him? What do you mean?
I don't agree with any of those things.
Well, how could we ever support that?
Because ultimately,
We're paying for that.
Because ultimately, we have to make a calculation about whether we're happy with Russia invading what is a sovereign European democratic country.
It was not a sovereign country. It was controlled by the United States.
Well,
we installed their government in a coup in 2014.
But
they're a puppet of the United States and Great Britain.
But
they're not sovereign.
Do you think they're a democracy?
Well, their leader's not elected, so by definition, they're not a democracy. It may be a great place to vacation, or they've got, we're getting a lot of money from, defense deals, or they've got pretty women. There are lots of great things you could say about the Ukrainians. They're actually great people, from what I can tell. I know a bunch of them. They're awesome. But
guys, don't forget about our Swogo at the top of the chat tonight. We can get Morty his peanut butter. They're stacking up. They're stacking up. I got my peanut butter in the morning with my shakes, but he's waiting on you guys. $2 will do it. 10 and we win.
Things you could say about the Ukrainians. They're actually great people, from what I can tell. I know a bunch of them. They're awesome. But they're definitely not a democracy.
So should Putin just take the land?
No.
So what happens?
I don't know. We should stop paying for the slaughter of the entire Ukrainian population.
Because you don't know. I mean, either he's allowed to take it or he isn't. Either we now say, yes, you...
And again, allowed.
Why is it up to us? I don't understand. We're not...
Exactly. Why is it up to us? And what is Piers? Well, who else can stop it? I don't know. How about NATO? How about anybody closer to the conflict? Or how about Ukraine just becomes part of Russia and then that's it? And like I said before, if Putin decides to take it further, then we have an issue. Bunzig said most of the companies in NATO are American anyways, like Boeing. Well, that's 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 exactly the point, right? That it doesn't really help the United States as much as it helps everybody else. But yeah, listen up.
He's allowed to take it or he isn't. Either we now say
he's not allowed to take it. That doesn't mean that we have the jurisdiction to be able to do anything about it outside of war, where people die and lots of money is spent on things that don't help people at home.
For Ukrainian population.
Because you don't know. I mean, either he's allowed to take it or he isn't. Either we now say, yes, you...
Why is it up to us? I don't understand.
Well,
We're not...
Well, who else can stop it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, when, Congo invades its neighbors, like, it's not axiomatic that we should be involved.
Well, when Saddam
Exactly.
invaded Kuwait, why did America go and support
Good fucking question, bro.
that?
Because George W. Bush lied about WMDs. That's why.
Did you support that?
Well, I was in college and drunk.
Did you basically agree with it?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of dumb ideas.
Storming
I
Norman
thought it was
Schwarzkopf?
okay to drink beer in the morning.
Do you think, looking back at it, was it right to do what America did with the Allies? British were there too?
I don't know.
Expel him from Kuwait? It wasn't a NATO country.
And it's weird that Tucker's not like, yeah, that whole thing, especially in his yeah, well, that whole thing was terrible. Like, yeah, we all, like, all of America is like, oh, that was a very bad time in American history. He's got his ears.
No.
Expel him from Kuwait? It wasn't a NATO country.
Well, that was, I mean, that's the kind of war that in theory I would support. You say, we have, energy interests in this region. We want to keep it stable. Mm-hmm. When you start getting theoretical, like we're preserving democracy by supporting dictators.
Well, we take energy. Right. Or we're saying, well, let's do this now so that that doesn't happen later because that could lead to this. And then if that happens, then that will happen. That, like, I have anxiety, guys. I know what that thinking is like, and it does not help. It does not help. Focus on the here and now. Are any of our allies being attacked? Are any of our interests being directly fucked with? Then leave it alone. Leave it alone. Shout out to Ty Cobb. Welcome to the party. So I have to look up the acronym National Assholes Treaty Organization. You got it. Welcome.
When you start getting theoretical, like we're preserving democracy by supporting dictators.
Well, we take energy from Ukraine, though. There's an energy component to that.
Maybe. I don't see that.
What I'm thinking is that
what I don't like is the moral overlay because it's fatuous and fraudulent. He's not, this is not a democratic country. He is a dictator. We've supported many dictators. We supported Mobutu.
That's a good point, too.
In Zaire, which no longer exists because he was a bulwark against the Soviets, we thought, and a million others.
No, but you've already said that you would support the expulsion of Saddam from Kuwait.
Well, I don't know that I would.
No, he said he did at the time when he was drunk and in college. That's what he said.
He said that you would support the expulsion of Saddam from Kuwait.
Well, I don't know that I would.
Led by America. Well, you just said you did, right?
So no, I said I was drunk in college.
30 years ago.
I said, but theoretically, you could make the case
because they had
the United States, we need cheap energy.
Is this the best Piers has? Is Piers' show only entertaining because he brings on other people?
going to go to war to preserve cheap energy. That's not a crazy thing to say. Maybe I could support that.
Right. So what's the difference, between that and what's happened with Russia and Ukraine?
Well, because
we need Ukraine's energy. We need Ukraine's wheat. We do.
Do we though? Is it worth billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars? I'm sure we could grow wheat elsewhere. Tycom said they're both aged out frat boys. That's a good one. You know what? Dilly to that. Dilly to that. Aged out frat boys. Coming with the fire time.
Ukraine.
Well, because
we need Ukraine's energy. We need Ukraine's wheat. We do. 25% of the.
They said it at the beginning. I think they're in. Okay, we're at 11:09. They said it.
Piers Morgan, thank you. Sorry. Telling off-color jokes off camera. Thank you so much.
No, my pleasure.
We are in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
We are.
Saudi Arabia. That's where they are. Bucks said we make the money back anyways. From what? From what do you? Give me some context to that. We were just talking like 6 different things about money. Shout out to Michael W. Welcome to the party. So would you give Ukraine to Russia if it meant life here improved? I don't own Ukraine. America does not own Ukraine to give or prevent from doing anything. If what you're asking is that if I would prefer that Russia just take Ukraine and then it all be it all be done. Yes, that would be ideal. If it is the case that Russia takes Ukraine and then wants to go further into Poland and all of that stuff, then don't you start with that shit. Don't just start with that shit. And so fine. If you're going hypothetical, and if I did own Ukraine, then we wouldn't. Then it would be a completely different argument because then we'd own Ukraine. That's like asking, well, if they attack Florida, would it be okay to give to Russia if life here improved? Of course not. But Florida is part of the United States. Ukraine is not. If it were, it would be different. So given the hypothetical, yes, I would want to fight for any of our any of our territories being taken over by Russia. In the real world, where Ukraine isn't owned by America, and certainly not by me, then we don't have the power to give Ukraine to anybody. Yeah, that's the right one. But the other one's more fun, right? Box said, we make all of the weapon systems that we inevitably end up selling them, which is exactly what that's money down the drain. Money down the drain. Oh, we got an op. We got a Fed. This is Arrow in disguise. Our 4 million channels keep getting canceled. It's a hazard. Fair enough. Welcome. Box. So we give them sorry, I can't read today. We give them money, then they use the money to buy the weapons from us. You can see this because you can see this because we spend money in yeah, right. We have Mike W and Mike Theater. So what so what is the conclusion here? Like, I'm okay with not making money I'm not spending the money on the weapons to sell it to then get it back to America, because American people don't see that money as well as if we were just not spending that money and taxes in the first place.
Did with the Allies? British were there too?
I don't know.
Expel him from Kuwait? It wasn't a NATO country in America.
Our people who used to be against all of that shit, like me,
are against supporting Ukraine anymore. And I'm curious about that change in what has been, 35.
He said Americans or Republicans?
So there's a lot of Republican supporters now, conservatives in America, are against supporting Ukraine anymore. And I'm curious about...
I'm sorry, I saw the chat and I missed again, my bad.
Conservatives in America are against supporting Ukraine anymore.
Are against support. Okay, yeah. Too many negatives.
And I'm curious about that change in what has been...
He's having fun. He's having a good time.
35 years. There's been a real sea change. And it may be because Americans are understandably war-weary.
Won't be the first, won't be the last.
They're fed up with spending a lot of money on foreign wars, foreign conflicts.
Wait, put a 1 in the chat if you do not know what S tier means. If somebody says something is S tier, put a 1 in the chat if you do not know what that means.
There's a good argument. America hasn't really won a foreign war since World War II. You look at from Vietnam onwards, endless quagmires, endless problems, Iraq, Afghanistan, and so on and so on. And I look at what's happened in Ukraine, and I'm just looking at it pragmatically. Do we just let Russia led at the moment by Vladimir Putin, who I would categorize
Again, do we let him? Do we let him? Do we let him? No, we don't. It's not a matter of letting. Did they does Russia let us stop them? Like what the phrasing of that doesn't it Oh my God. That is a question I don't know the answer to. But yeah, it just means top tier, and it comes from, you know, everybody doing tier lists, and the top would always be S. I don't know why. I don't know why it's S, but I do know what that is. And we got Arrow. Welcome. Is that sounds gay? We already had A, B, like whatever. Anyway, Box said, dude, we watched all our friends go to that sandbox and fucking do war for the last 20 years. Exactly. If we hadn't seen that, if we hadn't understood that, if we hadn't known that there was all these lies, then maybe things would be different. You're trying to look at an electorate from 30 years ago, right? 30 years ago, 25 years ago, whatever. And it just doesn't, you know, it's not the same people. It's not the same thing. You can't just say, well, the Republicans 35 years ago did this, so you're a Republican. You think that now, right? What? Like, that don't make no sense. Hey, shout out to Arrow with the super sticker. Why don't they count these for the goal? All right, I'm counting it for the goal. Shout out. Thank you. So very, very much. So despite what the goal says, 9 more, and Morty gets his treat. And of course, Arrow, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very, very much. Let me update that banner, but first I gotta shout out my boy Right Click. Welcome to the party. School reports. I don't remember any letters outside of A, B, D, and F after elementary school. Maybe it was a bunch of elementary schoolers using the tier list. I don't know, but welcome to the party, and thank you again, Arrow, aka Taka. Or let me keep your identity separate. So actually, no, that's someone completely different.
We let Russia, led at the moment by Vladimir Putin, who I would categorize as a dictator. Do we let him just take what he wants, even if he uses it and dresses it all up as I'm doing this because I fear about NATO encroachment, which may well be his reasoning. Okay. But many people think it's not his reasoning.
Okay, and many people think. If I haven't just
they think
a source close to the person said,
you want to put U.S. missiles on Russia's border? I don't understand.
Because
it's so obviously unacceptable for any sovereign nation to tolerate.
But here's the other part of the argument.
He has nuclear weapons.
I thought it was going to be like super or superior or something. Do you know this? It's some anime bullshit. Of course. Now it all makes sense.
So obviously unacceptable for any
normal people don't know.
Sovereign nation to tolerate.
But here's the other part of the argument.
He has nuclear weapons. Why would we want that?
A lot of people. Well, we have nuclear weapons too. A lot of the argument.
Oh yeah, so let's just blow each other up. No big deal. And like that's where this is leading. That's the questions that Piers, that you're asking. Okay, what if he takes Ukraine and then what? And then he goes into Eastern Europe and then what? And then we get into nuclear war. But let's make sure that he doesn't just stop at Ukraine before we get into a nuclear world war. Is that too big of an ask? Shout out to Bucks. Thank you. So very, very much for the gifted membership. Shout out to Right is Right. You are now a member of the channel. Make sure, whether you are a member or not, the pinned tweet. We're not on Twitter. The pinned chat is the link to the Discord. It is free for everybody, but if you are a member, you will get the full thing. So make sure you join it. Thank you so very, very much, sir. King said, I know it from my video games. Thank you very much. Oh, well, sorry. That's way cooler. Right clicks up to the what is right click said for the tier list, it was like weapons grades and old RPGs. It means superior. That's what I was saying. If that's what it meant, then that's cool. If it's S for school in anime, then that's gay. So I'm gonna choose to believe that it means superior. That's what I choose to go with until I get something official. That's what I'm going with. I said now I have to visit Merriam-Webster. What exactly means abolish? Just get rid of it. Do we want to get rid of NATO? Yes or no? Buck said someone fire up the Fallout soundtrack. Yep, you got it. Good. Superior or special? I'm going with superior.
Nuclear weapons. Why would we want that?
Look, a lot of people.
Confused.
Well, we have nuclear weapons too. A lot of the argument.
You guys have nuclear weapons?
Huh?
You
We
have
do.
nuclear-
Yes, we have nuclear weapons.
Why?
It's like, what?
Why? Nuclear deterrent.
Why? Why do you need them? We do. And as you've been posturing this entire time, we're the world police that has to let people do this and that and whatever, right? So why do you need nukes? Great rhetorical thingy here.
Nuclear weapons too. A lot of the argument.
You guys have nuclear weapons?
Huh? We do.
Nuclear-
Yes, we have nuclear weapons.
Why?
Why? Nuclear deterrent.
Great Britain has nuclear weapons?
Yes, we do.
Do you think that's a good idea?
Yes, absolutely. You know why? 'Cause
You're freaking me out.
if Ukraine had nuclear weapons, they wouldn't have been invaded. Can we agree on that? We told them to give up their nuclear
They wouldn't have
deterrent.
been invaded
We
if the West hadn't said, we're going to use you as a staging ground for intimidating Russia. Like, why would we want to do that? Why not just allow... What we've done is pushed Russia into the Chinese
And many
market.
people would
Now,
say,
how does that help us?
many people in that region.
Shout out again to our co-sponsors, Arrow and Box. Very much appreciated. Michael W. said NATO would continue to exist without us. Maybe a better question is, should we withdraw from NATO? So, all right, let's do that. So we got 12 votes. That's a pretty strong thing. So if it's a matter of yes and no, should it be abolished? Then we say, which is the best option for the U.S. Concerning NATO? Leave. We could leave NATO. God damn it. Leave. Abolish, which is the same thing we were just saying before, or stay. Duh. All right. Smart move. Let's see what you guys have got to say.
What we've done is pushed Russia into the Chinese
And many
market.
people would
Now,
say,
how does that help us?
many people in that region say, actually, what's happened to Ukraine is precisely why they should have been in NATO. Because if they had been in NATO, Putin wouldn't have invaded them.
Bro, King, you know exactly where my head went. So now with Piers having his fingers on the in the pudding, this guy's completely off his trolley.
Precisely why they should have been in NATO. Because if they had been in NATO, Putin wouldn't have invaded them.
Okay.
And also they
Many
say,
people say that.
also say, if we hadn't collectively basically bullied Ukraine into giving up their nuclear deterrent, he wouldn't have done it either, because they would have had a nuclear weapon to defend themselves.
This is super crazy.
Is it crazy?
Yes, it is.
Crazier than
No,
your
stop.
theories?
And so again, I just want to shout out to you guys, or not shout out, I want to establish to you guys, I am not coming to you as an authority here. I'm coming to you as, hey, let's together watch this and learn. And so you guys very likely will know a lot more than I do in these areas. I've always said that foreign aid, foreign powers, war powers, all that stuff is not really, what I focus on as much as the, smaller domestic stuff that your average person has the time to care about. Michael said Piers is right here. Fair enough. So, a little bit going back and forth. So nothing he said is crazy. And, that just because one person says something that makes sense doesn't mean that the other person's completely wrong, but it also doesn't mean that, you win. Like, they can both make good points. And that's what we like to see.
Basically bullied Ukraine into giving up their nuclear deterrent, he wouldn't have done it either, because they would have had a nuclear weapon to defend themselves.
This is super crazy.
Is it crazy?
Yes, it is.
Crazier than
No,
your
stop.
theories?
Well, actually, I don't think, I have a million theories, but these are not among them. It's not a theory to say that Russia moved into eastern Ukraine because the United States wouldn't give up on pushing for Ukraine admission into NATO when NATO did not want Ukraine.
But there's
It didn't
also-
meet the criteria for
yeah, but-
admission. So
But I think you're only giving half a picture. I'm not oblivious to that, but I would add this component.
Okay, so I think that's fair. Saying if Ukraine was in NATO, then Russia wouldn't have fucked with them. Assuming that's correct, because that was the red line, right? That was the big, not 1 inch to the 1 inch to the east, right? That was the red line. So assuming we bring Ukraine into NATO, and then Russia's like, all right, you got me. Why are we assuming that would be how it plays out? Instead of them being like, all right, well, if you're going to bring Ukraine into NATO, like, why not go balls to the wall? And if we go out, when we go out. Michael W. said Ukraine gave up their nuclear deterrence because they were assured that the United States would protect them. We violated their trust when we let them be invaded. violated their trust when we made promises that we shouldn't, that we were unable to keep without printing ungodly amounts of money. But yeah, and there's definitely a conversation to be had about these types of promises and what is the because I mean, I think we can agree that not every treaty ever was a good deal. I think we could definitely say that there's some treaties that looking back, maybe we wish we didn't do that. And so the question that brings up for me is exactly kind of what Piers is talking about. That like, hey, 25 years ago, the Republican Party was all about this. Like, okay, fair, but I wasn't there. I'm voting now, and I say no. So how do we? If there's already a deal that I never wanted to be part of, and I still don't agree with, you know, I mean, America made the promise, so you know, it's like it's between a rock and a hard place. Michael says, I wouldn't want a hostile alliance on my doorstep either. And that's why we shouldn't be making promises like that. Promises that we can't keep and promises that we know are going to exacerbate things. And I with the most amount of ignorance, I would bet that promise was made because we didn't expect to not be the world police. We didn't expect for Iraq and Afghanistan to just deplete everything of this country's military. I said Piers Anthony. Piers Anthony is my favorite Piers. The Blue Adept. Didn't know about this Morgan blowhard. I don't know about the other one, but I'll take your word for it. All right, I'm back in.
But I think you're only giving half a picture. I'm not oblivious of that, but I would add this component to it, which is also not surely beyond the realms of fantasy. That Vladimir Putin knows that a lot of that part of Eastern Ukraine, they still speak Russian. He has resented the breakup of the Soviet Union, famously, and that actually he wanted to take back land that he believes should belong to Russia.
Their language
should belong to Russia.
Okay.
Do you accept that?
I think it's true of, look, I'm not an expert. I've interviewed Putin. You know, I've been there a couple of times. I don't speak Russian, so I hope I don't get over my skis and pretend to know things that I don't. But what's very obvious is they have an interest and have for over 300 years in controlling Crimea, where their fleet is based. They had a referendum in Crimea. The people of Crimea are Russian and want to remain part of the Russian Federation. So he didn't take Crimea. It's Russian. It's filled with Russians. They had a referendum that.
This is close enough to the type of bait that I would take. This is close enough, but not quite.
Nobody disputes. People should be allowed to choose their own government. That's the basic precept of democracy.
You did take Crimea.
Okay. Should people be allowed to choose their own government?
Yes.
Okay. So the people of Crimea voted overwhelmingly to align with the Russian government. So that's illegitimate. Why?
When did they do that?
Right after the coup in 2015, I think.
Right. So after they'd been invaded.
That's my bond. That's my bond. I never really knew, you know, my parents weren't really into James Bond and stuff. So, you know, if you ask my dad, he would probably say Sean Connery. But, you know, once, who was after him, Daniel Craig? Or was there somebody in between? Either way, Pierce Brosnan is the one. And so, Michael, no. Or yes, actually, but I don't want to talk about that on stream because reasons. Come to the after party. Arrow said both these guys are overfed and not very bright. But what do I know? Well, I mean, this is, you know, I mean, of all the people that have enough information to have discussions like this, then I certainly don't have exactly what do I know? I'm right there with you. And so even if this isn't the most highbrow discussion, number one, we're not the most highbrow people, you know what I mean? And they still know more than us. So I really like how you know, it gives us some understanding. All right. Shout out to
right after the coup in 2015, I think.
Right. So after they've been invaded. Why do you think? Why do you think so many Russians vote for Putin in Russia?
I don't think it was invaded. Russia has controlled Crimea for 300 years.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It wasn't Russia's. And in the same way that
even if it wasn't Russia's, it was still considered Russia for a long time.
You say the people of Crimea voted overwhelmingly in favor. Of course they did. They would have been killed if they hadn't. Same way as in Russia.
In a secret ballot?
The same way Russia.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying.
Hey, shout out to Mom Tag. Welcome to the party. Not feeling so good. Let's give him a dilly. Dilly to feeling better. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you, brother. Hope you are feeling better.
Been killed if they hadn't. Same way as in Russia.
In a secret ballot?
The same way Russia.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying that the election was conducted under duress and people's votes were known to the Russian government? I don't think that's true. I think it was a secret ballot.
I'm saying it's exactly the same way that people in Russia vote for Putin. You think it's an overwhelming show of support for him. A lot of it is driven by fear.
Oh, okay, that may or may not be true. I don't know, but
you don't think that's true?
But again, what do you want America to do?
The only measure we have of popular consent is an election. And when conducted by secret ballot, if we think it's not the 2020 election, it's like kind of a legitimate election, that's what we go with. And have you ever met anybody who believes that if a free and fair referendum were held once again in Ukraine, that Ukraine would vote, rather than Crimeans would vote to align with the Zelensky government in Kiev? I don't think so. It was 97%. Look, I'm just saying self-determination is the core idea in democracy. They don't have it in Ukraine because they haven't had an election. They ignored the election because it's run by a dictator called Zelensky. If you wanted to say he's a dictator, that's fine. You support a dictator. The U.S., your government has supported many dictators, so is mine.
And so, Michael, I think that's exactly Tucker's point, is that they had elections and they call him a president, but he's a dictator. I think that's exactly Tucker's point. I think he's trying to tease out why he still thinks Zelensky is a dictator because of these, and I could be wrong, but that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're trying to act, you being Piers, Piers is acting like, they're so very different in principle when really they're just different in circumstance. Oh man, something's going around. Wear your masks.
A dictator, that's fine. You support a dictator. The U.S., your government has supported many dictators, so is mine. That's kind of a fact of life. There are very few democratically elected leaders. Sometimes even our leaders aren't really democratically elected, as you know. I just don't like the moral bullshit that attaches to all of this.
Yeah, so that's what he's saying. It's like, okay, so he's democratically elected and whatever, and if exactly what Michael is saying, if they can't have free and fair elections, then how is he a legitimate president? And if he's not a legitimate president and he's a dictator, then why, Piers, are you supporting a puppet dictator?
As you know. I just don't like the moral bullshit that attaches to all of this.
That's fair enough.
Where we tell the population we're on the side of democracy, and he's Winston Churchill.
I don't claim it's Mother Teresa against Hitler.
No, but you have though. He's a marvelous person.
I like him. I'm allowed to, aren't I?
True. I mean, yes, commies are bad.
I guess you like dictators. I've never said of Putin he's a marvelous person because, it's a little dictatory for me. I think he's really smart. I admire what he's done to Russia, but I'm not going to sniff his jock because he's kind of a dictator. But
so what you're really saying is that Piers is silly to expect that because there were elections and he won, that he's a legitimate president and not a dictator. Don't you start. Pinko? What's a pinko? I don't know what that means.
You're like, oh, I love that Zelensky. He's so great.
I do like him.
How can you like a man who's a dictator?
I don't think he's a dictator.
In what sense?
So again, I was right. I knew what the hell I was talking about. And so not Tucker, Piers. You think you get a free and fair election while invading armies in your country, Piers? And he would say yes.
Okay.
How can you like a man who's a dictator?
I don't think he's a dictator.
In what sense? He's not elected. He rules by force. He rules with guns. He kills his opponents. He's assassinated a ton of people, including, I know someone he tried to assassinate. Fact. How is that we're supporting? Do you feel a little guilty for supporting someone like that?
No, I don't.
Really?
No, in fact, I think we should try and do more to help him win.
How rich do you think he's gotten from this war?
I have no idea.
We should do more? Or we, America, should do more, Piers? Which one? Because, not the same thing. Gotcha. Yeah, agreed. Michael said they're talking about the elections in Crimea, where they voted 97% to join Russia. That's what I was talking about. Okay. Again, I thought they were talking about I thought he was talking about Zelensky specifically. So, okay. Then if he's talking about elections in Crimea, where 97% to join, if you're saying that you were saying they were. While Russia is invading, they voted to be with Russia, and that's not legitimate because of the fact that Russia was invading. That's what you're saying? Just making sure we're on the same page. Hey, shout out to Zippy. Welcome to the party. Said leave NATO It's their problem, and that's what everybody seems to be saying. I'm going to keep that up for a little while longer. See if anybody wants to stay or get rid of it. But it seems like everybody agrees. Let's just get the fuck out of there. Welcome to the party. I'm saying that vote was after Russia invaded Crimea. So I think Piers has a point calling into question its validity. Gotcha. Okay. On the same page now. And so then still, it's odd for Piers to say, to be able to see that, the 2014 election was not legitimate. But the whatever year election to make Zelensky the president, that was legitimate. That's his position. Sounds off.
We should try and do more to help him win.
How rich do you think he's gotten from this war?
I have no idea.
Does it bother you that he's gotten rich?
He's not as rich as Vladimir Putin.
Well, I mean, if all comparisons...
Talk about a whataboutism. Did anybody say that Putin wasn't rich? Nobody said we like Putin. You're the one who said you like Zelensky.
Does it bother you that he's gotten rich?
He's not as rich as Vladimir Putin.
Well, I mean, if all comparisons are to Putin, then all bets are off.
Putin is financially raped and pillaged his country for...
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't... I'm fighting. That's grifting. That's theft. And everybody...
The big grifters grifting American money. Grifting American money.
In Europe knows that. And you know that too. Go to Romania. All their, high-end car dealerships are sold out because Ukrainians have bought the cars.
So to be clear,
what the hell is this?
So when Putin invaded Ukraine, you'd have given him what he wants? Take whatever you want?
Wait, hold on. So I'm gonna help Zippy here, just like he's been helping me. So just by the fact that he's a crazy dictator doesn't mean that he's stupid. So we could argue that there's many dictators and they're very evil, but that doesn't mean they're stupid. And they understand that NATO is an alliance, and that Russia, China, Ukraine are all big enemies of that alliance. Is that completely not a possible scenario? Genuine question. Well, and again, this is, I would say at the moment, it seems the other way around. It seems that the U.S. and the UN are disposable tools of Israel at the moment, which is why I don't want to continue supporting them. Jeff says, is Putin more honest, more transparent, like the bad guy who is okay with it? He's the strong man in his country. Zelensky seems more like a cuck. Yeah. Sounds about right. And I think that's what Tucker's trying to get at, is that, like, yeah, I talked to one of them, but I never applauded him as a person. I might have said he was a smart person, but I never said he was good and I like him. I want, any of those things. When we're both making the argument, both being Tucker and Piers, we're both making the argument that Putin is worse. But you're trying to flip that and moralize yourself by saying, well, you talked to Putin, when you're cozying up and calling him a friend. All right, Michael said, I will provide evidence. Hold, please. Holding and awaiting. So the only reason China has not taken North Korea is it's a great tool. Yeah, makes sense to me. Again, I'm not an authority here. Maybe that's complete bullshit, but makes sense to me. Makes sense to me.
Putin invaded Ukraine. You'd have given him what he wants? Take whatever you want?
Well, as I've said, and I really mean it from my heart. I mean, I have no I'm not getting rich from this. So I'm saying what I sincerely believe, which is pushing Ukraine to join NATO when NATO doesn't want Ukraine. There's no strategic reason, no actual reason to have Ukraine in NATO, or to have NATO at all. We shouldn't have NATO at all.
Oh, that's preposterous.
What's the point of NATO?
To keep
the Soviets from invading Western Europe. Oh, well, it's been 35 years since they existed.
To keep peace.
And so this is why this is a much better, thank you, Michael. This is a much better poll. And I think reflects the American idea of NATO much better. That 56% of you just said leave. We don't need to abolish it. Let them have their little party. But we're paying into all of this. And we're okay, we're doing good things, but it's we're not in a spot where we can just keep pouring from an empty cup. Zippy said, no, Israel cannot make money on its own. It's used as a footstool for war and corporate expansionism into the Middle East. Israel is protected and nurtured because it's a profitable tool. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm just saying at the moment, it seems like Bibi Netanyahu is getting very comfortable doing whatever the hell he wants, knowing that American money is pouring in and ain't going to stop anytime soon. Now, there's NATO is the game of risk writ large. Well said.
It's invading Western Europe. Oh, well, it's been 35 years since they
Actually,
existed.
to keep peace.
How's that worked? To keep peace.
Actually,
we now have the bloodiest war in 80 years in the middle of Europe because of NATO. So how's this peacekeeping
Or
activity?
you could argue, as many people do, that actually the reason is because Ukraine wasn't in NATO. Had it been, Putin wouldn't have invaded.
This is super crazy. This is like an addiction, and I've been through addiction, so I'm not judging at all, but it's
like, well, I mean, yes, I got my 6 boosters and I still have got COVID. If I had just gotten my 7th booster, then I would have been fine.
like, I feel really shitty. I've got to have a glass of vodka to feel better.
Are you mocking my mental health?
I'm not, yes, but I'm also saying that I've lived this, so I know what it feels like.
I love how he's like, yes. One more time.
Oh.
I'm not, yes, but I'm also saying that I've lived this, so I know what it feels like. It's the
I said, shit, me too.
Because then America would have been obliged
Russia
to
would
respond.
never. Here's
And again, I would push on. Okay, make that argument. Make that argument. I certainly don't know, but it seems like the notion of Ukraine entering NATO was what kicked all of this off since 2014. That's what I've seen. And again, I will say again, I could be way off. If you can teach me, please educate me. I said I'm amongst the greatest unvax. We should probably leave. Nah, you right at home, girl. Shout out to the pure bloods. Dilly to the pure bloods.
Member of NATO. No, he wouldn't have done. Because then America would have been obliged to
Russia would
respond.
never. Here's what I know for a fact. Putin said this for 20 years. Ukraine cannot be a member of NATO. They will not accept that any more that we would accept Chinese missiles in Tijuana, or you would accept Sri Lankan missiles in Glasgow. You're just not going to accept
is
that.
So this sounds almost like a talking point. Why is it correct or incorrect? Why is it not the same thing as if China wanted to put a base in Tijuana? Yeah, why is it different? Or actually, you know what? I want to do a poll on that. So, are the situations the same? And we'll put China in Mexico. We'll put China base in Mexico in case anybody's coming through. Is it fit military base? Are the situations the same? So we're talking Ukraine and NATO versus China having a military base in Tijuana. Right click said, I'm triple unvaxxed. Oh my goodness. I mean, I gotta give it dilly. I only got unvaxxed once. Like this man is dedicated. Dedicated, if I tell ya. Michael said, if China is puppeting Ukraine, please explain why they are enforcing economic sanctions on the country and doing everything in their power to curb their nuclear program. I don't know. Not an authority here. But is it possible? Is it possible that there's economic interests and there's military interest, and they're not exactly the same, but the enemy on my enemy is my friend or some shit like that? I don't know. But you seem to be very clear that they're not. So why don't you answer your own question and educate me? Michael said, China supports North Korea for one reason. They don't want instability on their order. Okay. And so again, how do we know the things that we're saying?
Tijuana, or you would accept Sri Lankan missiles in Glasgow. You're just not going to accept that.
NATO is a defensive organization.
How is it defensive?
Because it has never acted proactively, aggressively.
Really? Where were you when the Yugoslavia war was going on? And they were bombing the shit out of Christians in Yugoslavia. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That was pretty offensive.
NATO has always operated in a defensive capacity.
We're going to blow you up so you don't blow up the rest of the world. I mean, I guess that's an argument.
Really?
Yes.
That's how they created Kosovo? Defensively?
It was defensive.
Oh, it was.
Yes, it
Who
was.
the
Shout out to my my sister's ex-boyfriend, who I don't even remember why, but my dad used to call him Kosovo.
That's how they created Kosovo? Defensively?
It was defensive.
Oh, it was.
Yes, it
Who was the aggressor there?
Oh, you know, my brother-in-law was literally there.
Just admit it. What you're saying is insane.
It's not insane. NATO has never actually acted unilaterally.
Okay, so the
aggressively.
Soviet Union
It's never
collapses.
attacked anybody without being attacked. It's always been defensive.
Okay, who in Yugoslavia attacked NATO?
Look,
Just know, here's the point where you just admit defeat. Bow your head and
I'm
be
not
like, you know
defeating.
what?
Yeah, because here's the thing. Even if you're not right, if you can't, for them, if you can't articulate in the moment why you're wrong, then you have to concede. Okay, I don't know. This is what I think. I can't back it up, but whatever. In the same way that, when Michael's asking these things, I'm saying, I don't know. I have to say, I don't know. I could be wrong. Piers is not willing to do that. So Michael's saying these are not the actions of a puppet state or proxy state. See, Iran with the Houthis and Palestine. Now that's a proxy state. So there can only be one type of proxy state, or there's different. It could manifest in different ways. If there could only be if we are limiting a proxy state or a puppet state to one specific manifestation, then we can understand we're talking about different things. But if a puppet state or a proxy state can manifest in different ways, then it could be they're not mutually exclusive. All right, so I've had the usual diptet. What? Was the top? There's several tetanus vaccines and the rabies, of course. Well, I hope you haven't had rabies.
look.
Just know, here's the point where you just admit defeat. Bow your head and
I'm
be
not
like, you know
defeating.
what? I bow before superior knowledge. I totally got this wrong. I can't believe I had such a silly idea. I'm
When
sorry.
you think nice, good guys in Yugoslavia,
I'm saying they're nice, good guys.
We're
I'm just
just up
saying that
to-
was not a
up
defensive
to no
action.
good-
That was an offensive
It
action.
was a-
Bill Clinton's like, I don't like what you're doing. I'm going to use NATO to kill you. And he did, and then created Kosovo as a NATO base.
Projection. Oh, so they're nice guys because you can't say that my guys are bad.
they were absolute genocidal
They may have
maniacs.
been naughty. I'm not defending their
But that's what they
behavior.
were being defended against.
Who are we defending?
The Yugoslavians that were being pillaged and raped and murdered.
By other
This is a gay joke.
Yugoslavians.
Yes,
Okay. Phew. This is getting intense. But
NATO is a defensive
you
organization.
can say it all you want. Just like you can say Zelensky's a
Yeah, Antifa is an anti-fascist organization, guys. Like they're called Antifa. Like, come on. Like, seriously.
beacon of democracy when he's not elected and he's banning parts of Christianity, but he's a dictator.
So just to
and
be
it's better
clear,
just to be honest about what things are.
just to be
Okay, so Michael says, let's define our terms. A puppet state equals a state whose government is effectively ruled by another country. Make that argument about North Korea and China. And Zippy says, PRB. All right, he's cooking, and I have a feeling that it might show up in the Rumble chat, but we'll see. We'll see.
And he's banning parts of Christianity, but he's a dictator.
So just to
and
be
it's better
clear,
just to be honest about what things are.
just to be clear, you would have let Putin take what he wants.
Again. We are 30 minutes into their discussion, an hour into ours, and we are still talking about how the United States is going to let Russia do this or that. That's not how it works. We absolutely could try to prevent them from doing X, Y, and Z, but allowing somebody implies that we have the authority to not let them do something, and we don't. And I don't want it.
Just to
And
be
it's better
clear,
just to be honest about what things are.
just to be clear, you would have let Putin take what he wants. Because what's the alternative? When he invaded Ukraine,
So I try and deal, especially as I get older
Let him take Ukraine and hope he stops there. If he doesn't, then we have an issue.
in the world of reality and achievable goals. And here's the reality. Russia is a nuclear armed power. It's the largest country on earth by landmass. It's also the remnants of a global empire. So they have a sense of themselves as a global player, and they are because of energy and resources in general. Uranium. I mean, they have a lot of resources the world needs. So they're a real country. They're not Afghanistan. You can't just tell them what to do. Get in line, bitch. They're not going to accept that. Okay. So they have
Right. So I'm going to say, let's just stop right there before Tucker even makes his argument. So Piers is asking, what's the alternative to letting them do X, Y, and Z? So if we don't let them, then what? What does that mean? What does that look like? We're not going to let you do this. So what? We get into an active hot war with Russia? And that's what you want, Piers? Yeah, right. It didn't work so well with Hitler.
What to do? Get in line, bitch. They're not going to accept that, okay? So they have said, since the fall of the Soviet Union, you cannot have NATO on our border because it's a critical national interest of ours. So unless you want to...
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that was like, all right, that's fair. That's a fair line for you to draw. We don't like it, but fine. Right? That was essentially the worldwide discussion.
NATO on our border because it's a critical national interest of ours. So unless you want to risk nuclear war, which we are now doing, you can't move NATO to their border, whether you want to or not. That's just a fact. And if you do, you're going to get a war. We've known that since the fall of the Soviet Union, and we promised not to do it. And we tried to bring, he asked to be in NATO in 2000. He asked George W. Bush to be in NATO. Nobody contests that. This evil dictator who wants to invade Liechtenstein asked to be in NATO. Why wouldn't we let him in NATO?
Yeah, we're saying only 16% of you are saying the situations are different. So if you did say that the America, NATO helping Ukraine is not the same situation as China having a military base in Mexico in Tijuana, what would be the difference? Michael says, yes, fair, like the Cuban missile crisis was for us. Absolutely.
Why did Condi Rice say, well, it can't be in NATO? Why do we have morons like Condi Rice in our U.S. government? I don't know.
So when he invaded, though, what would you let him do?
Again, let him do.
We're in a hall of mirrors now. Look,
not really.
Okay,
we're in a very clear moral moment in history.
Oh, I think he's going to say it. I think he's saying we don't let this. That I think that was about to come out of his mouth. Come on, Tucker.
Where Vladimir Putin invades Ukraine, it is a European country,
and we side with the
dictator, has been independent from Russia since the mid-90s.
Assassinate people.
Yeah, but what do you do? You let him take
There's nothing moral about this. Look,
if only he was right.
In the real world, we do things we can achieve, and if we can't achieve something, we don't try and do it because millions will die as we're watching.
So what do you let him do then?
Well, you start with
let him do
a realistic understanding of the limits of your power, which is all adults have to do. My neighbors may offend me. I want them to turn down the music. I can't just go over there and shoot them. I just can't. It's against the law. And I'll pay a penalty if I do that.
Yeah, and just like I'm all for not pushing Russia towards World War III. I saw a red dot. It does not look fun. And that is bringing Ukraine into NATO. So, and then even once they're not in NATO, and then Russia invades, there's still not any argument that I've heard, and definitely could be out there. So again, to educate me, but there still hasn't been an argument that I've heard that says if they get Ukraine, then they're going to continue. It's the same thing with Israel and Palestine. The arguments about, well, if they take Israel, then they're going to go to team up with Iran and do this and that. Like, okay, yeah, that's really bad. But let's not have a war to prevent having a war. If there's a war on the table, all right, let's defend whoever we need to defend, namely ourselves. But let's not go and start a conflict to make sure that it doesn't turn into a war. I can understand the logic of wanting to do that as a world military power. But look where we are over the last 25 years.
The material real world.
Right. But once actually he's invaded, what do you do?
Then you have to decide, like, is it worth it? Is it worth it?
So that's interesting to me.
1 million Ukrainians are going to die. Their farmland's going to be sold to BlackRock. The Ukrainian nation will cease to exist. They'll flood it with third worlders.
So what do you do? What do you do?
What would I do?
This is also a rhetorical thing that I don't like. So do you have a full answer as to what should have been done over the last 25 years? No? Oh, okay. Then what was done must have been perfect. What? That's not an argument. Well, it is an argument. It's just a really bad argument.
Yes.
I would say, like, if I took over the government in January...
It's a fine question. Don't get me wrong. It's a fine question to explore. Like, well, if you could have done things differently, what would you have done? That's a fair question. But to expect that answer, lest you give up the position. Sorry, Piers.
What would I do?
Yes.
I would say, like, if I took over the government in January of 2022 and we're on the verge of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, I would say, guys, it's not worth trying to impose.
Guys, really quick, if I can ask you a huge favor, share this video, hit the share button, take the link and plaster it wherever you can, Twitter, all those places. It does not matter. It does not matter if you think people are going to click the link, guys. It doesn't matter. Just by you sharing the video, it will help YouTube say, ooh, people like this. We should show it to more people. It's free. It's easy. It helps so very, very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Of a Russian invasion of Ukraine. I would say, guys, it's not worth trying to impose something that this country will never accept, because if we try to do that, we'll get a war.
So do you let Putin take Ukraine?
You don't
Yes. In your language, yes, Piers. But exactly what Tucker is saying, you don't let them. We don't have that ability to let or not let them. But yes.
Never accept, because if we try to do that, we'll get a war.
So do you let Putin take Ukraine?
You don't let anybody do anything. You realistically assess
you either do or you don't.
To do, because you're gambling with the other people's lives. By the way,
do you let your neighbor trans their kid? Why would you let them do that? Why would you're disgusting. You let your neighbor trans their kid? Why didn't you stop them? What do you mean? That's not how society works. King Ivana said, "You've been doing great with the." Oh, great! Now it's gonna come back. You're supposed to say it when I do say it. Now that it's on my mind, now I'm gonna say it again and again. I'm gonna have another issue. That was on purpose, but thank you. I said, "War was here before mankind made himself known. War waited for us to arrive." I would disagree with that. The second part, war was here before mankind. It just wasn't among men. Animals have had, I mean, I don't know if you would call it a war, but, okay. All right. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Michael said, no, but you can do everything in your power to stop them. Correct. If he was asking that question, that's a very clear, should we do everything in our power to stop Russia from taking over Ukraine? No! No. No, we don't do that.
You either do or you don't.
To do, because you're gambling with the other people's lives. By the way, if 1 million Brits had died, you might have a different perspective, but it's very easy to be like, oh, more Ukrainians should die for the cause of democracy.
Let me assure you, if
sounds like virtue signaling to me.
Russia invaded Britain, that would not be the view of the British people. Our view would be to fight to the last man and woman to kick him out. But my question really is...
Yeah, so, okay, let Ukraine do the same thing. Why are we involved? Is there... maybe I am retarded. Is there a situation here where Ukraine can win this war? Is that a thing?
Well, I mean, if your lodestar is whether other people win, you will lose.
Right.
Okay, that's a shitty way to go through life.
But
if I'm trying to prevent you a win, no, I'm trying to win. I'm trying to win for my wife, my children, my neighborhood, my country.
But once he's invaded...
Thank you. That is America first. That is what America first is all about. It's not about we don't care about Ukrainians. We want them to die. Yeah, you let Russia do whatever. That's not what it's about. It's about taking care of your home before anybody else. And our home is not taken care of.
Right. Okay, that's a shitty way to go through life.
But
if I'm trying to prevent you a win, no, I'm trying to win. I'm trying to win for my wife, my children, my neighborhood, my country.
But once he's invaded...
Beautiful. That is a good answer. Tyson, have you seen those reindeer post-antler headlock? A post-antler headlock. That's a weird phrase, but where they like lock up. Yeah. The victor had to walk around with the twisted off head of his opponent until for days until it rotted off. That's the animal. I mean, if that ain't, I mean, maybe that's not war, but it was definitely there before mankind. Michael said, if they maintain their sovereignty, they win. Right. So the question remains, is that a thing that exists at this point? Is that a thing that could actually be at this point? And more importantly, would that ever be a thing if they didn't get all this American money? I mean, I'm right there. I mean, maybe, you know what? I'm gonna. Okay. How? What is the? So play that out for me. How does that work? Because I really do not. There we go. So all the more reason to say, oh, sorry, Ukraine, You're not America. You're not NATO. You're not the UN. You got fucked. And now you're Russia. Moving on.
I don't care whether you win or
But
not.
once he's invaded, what do you do?
Your victory has nothing to do with anything. What I care about is my victory.
You're in this as much as we are.
No. I
Yeah, that's exactly the point. We don't want to be.
care about my country and whether we win. What's
Right.
good for us? Because I'm in charge. My country is theoretic. I'm in charge of nothing.
Is it good for America that Putin wins?
This whole thing has been a
It's better for America that Putin wins than us fighting and still losing. Yes.
disaster. We're going to lose the US dollar over this, okay? Because we followed the advice of people like Boris Johnson, who have no skin in the game whatsoever, but they get to feel like a moral charge. You're like, we're on the side of democracy. Okay. It's so infuriating to make it. I'm sorry to be so mean to the Brits, because it's our fault too.
We can take him.
In fact, we started this, but you guys want
He didn't just say that, right? He didn't just say that. Bro. Let's clear the floor for this. Did you really just say that?
to democracy. Okay. It's so infuriating to make it. I'm sorry to be so mean to the Brits, because it's our fault too.
We can take him.
We can take you. We can take you. Can you though? Shout out to 1776.
In fact, we started this, but you guys went along like little Pekingese. You shouldn't have done that.
But why are you not answering my question?
What would I do if I were
Why won't you let them?
Trump right now?
No. Once he invaded Putin, what do you let him take?
I'd call Putin, let him take. I would
Yes.
say at that
Let him
point,
take.
We're still doing that. 33 minutes. Would you let him? Well, it's not ours to let or not let. Okay, but would you let him? Well, it's not ours to let or not let. That's a different country. Yeah, but would you let him?
to what extent can you clean it up? You call Putin and you say, all right, this happened. First thing we're going to do is recognize it's not in our interest, your interest, the world's interest to have NATO missiles on your border. We don't want that. There's no reason to want that because we don't want to drive you into the arms of China. You are really part of Europe and you should be part of the West.
That's not what he said, bro. He said, we can take you. Look.
I would say right now, like Brits, because it's our, okay. It's so infuriating to make it, I'm sorry to be so mean
He said, we can take you.
to the Brits because it's our fault too.
We can take it.
And these are not the auto translate. These are the actual subtitles that they put. So unless Tucker's people are really bad, and maybe they are. It's right there. It's right there. It's right there. Let's hear it one more time. Let's slow it down.
It's so infuriating to make it, I'm sorry to be so mean to the Brits because it's our fault too.
We can take it.
Bro, that's what did he say? Did he say we can take you or we can take it?
Infuriating to make it, I'm sorry to be so mean to the Brits because it's our fault too.
We can take it.
So infuriating to make it, I'm sorry to be so mean to the Brits because it's our fault too.
We can take it.
There's a yeah. It's clearly there's no yeah at the beginning of it. The word take ends with a K, the K sound. So in order to get it, we can take it. There's no yeah. There would be no yeah in there.
So infuriating to make it, I'm sorry.
I'm going to slow it down more because I am so right about this.
Be so mean to the Brits because it's our fault too.
We can take it.
I mean, agree to disagree, but you're all wrong. You're all wrong. Wrong. I said I can't be bothered to do much more than swishing my what? All right. Nope. Wrong. I'm right. You're wrong.
So infuriating to make it, I'm sorry to be so mean to the Brits because it's our fault too.
We can take it.
In fact, we started this, but you guys went along like little Pekingese. You shouldn't have done that.
But why are you not answering my question?
What would I do if I were Trump right now?
No. What?
Did I go too far? Where are we at? I can't. No. So Jeff said there were reports a year or so ago that suggested Ukraine was willing to compromise, but the Biden admin prevented this. Is that true? If so, why? I certainly don't know. That does sound familiar. I believe I remember hearing talk about the Biden administration wanting to continue this going, and Trump talking about how we can get a deal done before he even got into office, and that this was the reasoning. But if somebody can add some more context, I would love to say. I think it was just making the joke that like I'm American being mean to the Brits, and he is saying as a Brit we can take it. That's what I heard. That's what he said. That's what the subtitle said. I'm right and you're all wrong.
Once he invaded Putin, what do you let him take?
I'd call Putin let him take. I would say at that point. To what extent?
And again, now we're 33 minutes.
Can you clean it up? January 20th, 2025.
Sure seems like it. Michael said, I think this is a good example of a reasonable disagreement. You guys are wrong. I'm right. And I think that I'm right, but agree to disagree.
He left. Thank God. So that's the goal. Do not allow, to the extent you can control it, do not allow Russia to align meaningfully with China. They have much more in common with us. They're part.
Okay. Last word on it. Because if he's just saying, who's we? Who's we? It's two people sitting there. And he said, we. Just saying. But last word on it, I forgot. I forgot what I was going to say. All right, moving on. Like I said, I think this is a good example of theirs. Yeah, that's exactly why I wanted to cover this. Not because I know what's so good. I'm going to tell you what's wrong about Tucker. I'm going to tell you what's wrong about Piers. And sometimes there are things where I'm definitely in a position to do that. It's not one of them, and I'm not pretending to do that. But I think it's good for us to have these conversations. Just said, the funny thing about China and Russia is that they can only get along for short periods. The CCP's paranoia always screws up that relationship. Well, they should just be better. Like America, Jack!
Part of Europe. You guys don't want to admit that, but
I don't be pedantic. But
you're not being pedantic.
What do you let Putin take?
Oh my God, bro.
I don't care. What I care about...
You don't care?
Well, I care, but what I care about...
more is America.
Is the balance of power in the world. And if the West...
And that it doesn't... that when something like that happens, then it doesn't... that the entire world doesn't look to America and be like, what are you going to do? You're going to let them do that? What are you going to do? It's your fucking country. It's your fucking neighbors. It's your fucking continent. What the fuck are we going to let them do? What the fuck are you going to do?
West finds itself in a place where it's got a much smaller collective economy and a much less powerful collective military than the East, then we're in serious trouble. There's no balance in the world. The Chinese are in charge of everything. And so you can't let that happen.
If you roll over and you let Putin take what he wants.
Roll over. It's all this like dick measuring contest.
Let me just respond.
Roll over.
Let me just respond. If you
bro, so you're just not going to go to war? What a bitch. Like, come on, bro. Just go to war. Just go to war.
Roll over and you let him take what he wants in Ukraine. Why should China not go and take what they want in Taiwan, for example? They would detect.
Well, they are going to take what they want in Taiwan.
I'm not sure they will, especially with Trump as president.
Part of China.
I don't think they will.
Okay.
So our relationship with Taiwan is comparable to our relationship with Ukraine.
Why do we get to dictate what China does with Taiwan? Like, there's fears.
You'd be happy for them to take back Taiwan?
Again, now you're the false dichotomy. Either you're happy with it, or you're willing to throw a young kids 18 on the front line. Like, come on, bro. This is so weak. Michael said, I liked the point you made about it being BS to make someone come up with a perfect path through the last 25 years, or they're wrong. And that's the position that Piers is putting Tucker in. It's like, well, okay, well, what would you have done? You don't have a perfect answer? Well, then I'm right. Like, no. In the same way that just because I can't explain how the universe started or why the universe started, that doesn't mean that God exists. That's not how that argumentation works. Michael said, we depend on Taiwan a lot more, I think. And I think you are correct. It all comes down to national interest. So that brings us back to the original question. Do we really need to be spending all this time, money, effort on Ukraine, even if there is some level of return on GDP? My name is Indigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
I'm not happy. I'm not happy with any conflict ever. I hate violence. I'm a Christian. I'm just saying that great countries have spheres of influence. So Saudi Arabia, where we are now, everyone's like, oh, the Saudis are interfering in Yemen. Well, Yemen's right there.
Why do you support that? Why do you support?
Michael says, I think the question hinges on how ballsy you think Putin is. Agreed. Test. If he will keep going, then it is in our interest to stop and contain him now. Agreed. However, agreed in principle. If we could know, I would amend that statement. If we could know that he would keep going, then it would be in our interest to stop and contain him now. But we can't know that. If he does keep going, then yes, it would have been better for us to get involved earlier. But based on the inability to tell the future, then you cross that bridge when you come to it. It's not a foregone conclusion that when they want part of their country back, that they want to take over the world. That's just not an argument that I personally am willing to buy into. And if there's a better argument, then they haven't done a good job of getting it to me. Yeah, if we knew he would stop, probably better for us to leave it alone. Bingo. And since we don't know, then the best when you're not sure if it's going to go left or right, the best thing is not to go, let's go balls to the wall and kill people and send all of our money away. Just like, yes, take out Trudeau. He's already gone. He's gone. We don't need to worry about that. Almost said it again. One of these days it's going to slip out. Yeah, since we can't know, we must not act on what we think is most likely to happen. Agreed. So why do we think it's most likely that after he takes Crimea or after he takes all of Ukraine that he would go any further? What is the argument for that? Because as we both are establishing, we do not know one way or the other. It is very possible that he wants to keep going. It's very possible that he doesn't. And when we're talking about the stakes being this high, we should be pretty sure and err on the side of peace and not war. Just my personal opinion.
Apart from the United States, to get together and align against us.
Why do you support Israel against Hamas, for example? Why do you support America giving them billions of dollars?
Well, you're getting hungry, guys.
You don't support Israel being supported by America?
Why? I support Israel.
Based. Fuck Israel. Fuck Palestine. Fuck Gaza. Fuck Bibi Netanyahu. Fuck whoever. Fuck Hamas. Fuck all of them. America first, please. When America is perfect, yeah, let's go around the world and clean it all up. I'm joking with that. But can we take care of our own country, please?
Well, I don't.
You don't support Israel being supported by America?
Well, I support Israel in the sense that I really like Israel. I brought my family on vacation.
But do you agree with America supplying them with a lot of arms?
To the extent that it helps the United States, I'm for it, of course. I think what we need is...
So you do believe in America interfering in countries a long way away. It just depends which country.
It depends on the interests.
No,
your principle, it doesn't really apply in Israel.
I'll articulate it for the third time, just to be totally clear. I believe the United States, like every country, should, to the extent that it can, act on behalf of its own people and their perceived interests. We can debate what those interests are.
But that doesn't apply in Israel.
I don't know what you mean.
America's supporting Israel because it's an ally.
I don't even know what those words mean. I'm just saying principle.
They're an ally, right? I mean, they both.
I don't know what that means to be an ally. I mean, we have no.
It means that when Israel wants to attack in Gaza and attack Hamas,
then we must help them. And when we want stuff, then they cheer for us.
America will.
True. I like their chemistry. They have a good chemistry in terms of but not both sides, but in their respective sides. Jeff said one difference between Ukraine and Israel. Israel is at least have a half decent trade partner, and we co-develop a lot of tech. Yeah. Oh God, I'm not even reading that out loud.
Well, I think I'm the uncontested.
This is why we need to fight against religion and politics. You're willing to give our money to other people because a book said they were special. That's stupid.
Premier of my own head.
That is true.
So I'm going to unload its contents on you right now.
Explain what is America's national interest in Israel.
I'll define the parameters as well.
Chosen
I'm happy with
people. What about Bob's chosen people? What about Bob's chosen people? Let's I just read a book that said that every Bob in the world is chosen. And so if you're a Bob, then whether you go by Robert, Robbie, Bobby, Bob, Bobberino, then you actually are somebody that we should spend billions upon billions of dollars. I mean, you call it take the bait or taking the opportunity to make fun of your stupid religion. 6 of one, half a dozen the other, right? Ty said, I don't know why I have to be involved with the whatever that is. I attend to the needs of my locale. If I have anything left to give, I'll go global. It's almost like common sense.
I'll define the parameters as well because I'm happier with that. I would say I support the right of all sovereign nations to act within what they believe is their own interest. Like we don't always know our own interest in our personal lives or between nations. Like we think it's good for us, but it may not be. The vodka in the morning analogy.
Guys, we got 2.5 minutes left on the goal. I don't think we're gonna make it, but I will make another one, and we can get Morty his peanut butter. We can do it. The higher the goal goes before it times out, the easier the goal will be afterwards.
Not good, actually, but I thought it was. Now I know it's not. But to the extent that we think we know, I think countries should act on behalf of their own citizens. That's the basic idea in democracy, okay? And there's certainly you could make a case that whatever we're giving to Israel this year in the form of direct aid, military assistance, loan guarantees, however we're doing it, is good for the United States. I think you should have to make that case.
Why is it good for the United States?
Well, you could make that case.
Yeah, but why is it?
I'm not convinced.
What is the case?
Well, I don't know. You'd have to be an advocate for it. You are a vociferous advocate for it. So what?
Again, trying to say, okay, well, give me the argument as to why my argument is completely wrong, and you have all of the requisite answers. Like you can see that something is not working. Like if your sink is leaking, you don't need to be a plumber to understand that your sink's not working.
Why don't you tell me?
For what?
For US aid to Israel in the current conflict.
Actually, I haven't expressed a view about that at all. I'm just curious about the difference in
You're not an Israel hater, are you? Why do you hate
Israel?
No peanut butter. No peanut butter for Morty.
Not at all.
Why are you attacking Israel?
Why do you hate Morty? Why do you want to keep peanut butter away from him?
How dare you?
Evil.
I don't know why. Like what problem do you have with Israel, Piers?
I have no problem with
Israel.
Israel.
Like this. They secretly hate Israel.
I have no problem with Israel whatsoever.
Like you do. Is Netanyahu a dictator?
Actually, I don't like Netanyahu. I think you should. I think
you hate Israel.
Yeah, but go ahead and give $1 billion.
Let me just ask you one more time. Hang on.
Hey, shout out to Jeff Piers, and this man needs a treat. This man needs a treat. Thank you so very, very much joining Box and Arrow as co-sponsors of the stream. Thank you so very, very much, guys. Thank you. Oh my God. Here we go. 45 seconds, guys. 45 seconds. Another $2 from my boy King Nirvana said you can't guilt me as I just guilted him. Thank you. So very, very much, guys. 30 seconds.
You hate Israel.
I think you should go. No, but that's what. Let me just ask you what.
If we get one more, I'll put the next one at 5.
Hang on.
Now we're getting into. I'm not comfortable with this.
Here's my question.
Should I be platforming you? That's my question.
If we get one more in the next 10 seconds, then it'll be 5 super chats of any size. We'll get him his peanut butter.
You just said you don't like Netanyahu.
I'm trying to work out whose brand suffers more when we platform each other. But let me ask you this.
I'm going to need a second.
One more time, just quietly for the people at the back. you don't like America getting involved in helping Ukraine against Russia because there's no national interest for America in doing that in your eyes.
Well, there's a negative national
Okay,
interest, a
so
profound one.
so I get
We're
that.
losing the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency because of this war.
All right.
Oh, and we missed it. But thank you. Shout out again to the sponsors so far. We got 3 of them with Bucks, Jeff, and of course, Arrow. So let's start a new one. And we're going to do, what should we do? Let's do, where are we at? Boom. 10 at any color. So $1 will work. $1 will work. Will count towards the goal. We just need 10 super chats of any price, and Morty gets his peanut butter. And you know what? And I'll add 10 swole stream push-ups to that. So let's completely hold on. I'll add some time. So not only is he getting all of that, and 10 swole stream push-ups. There we go, guys. Let's get it done. Thank you again to our sponsors. No, he will get the if we hit this goal. Not only will he get his peanut butter, but I will do the push-ups at any size. So $1 up will work. $1. There's 7 of you here. If 7 of you put $1, and if 5 of you put $1, and 2 more of you put 2, we will make it. I think.
So that's
one. So let's put a poll for that one. Was America wrong to use nukes in World War II? Oh, that's too many W's. Not the World Wide Web, but the World War Numero Dos. Oh, Jesus, we're getting, we've detected video in your stream. This is fair use. Fair use, Tucker. It is fair use. All right, I am commentating. I am adding. I am transforming. Fair use. Get the fuck out of my face. Actually, let's see. I need you guys to say stuff so I can break it up more. I ain't saying shit. I need to say shit. I'm just waiting for this to go away. Hands up. We've detected your video in the stream that belongs to somebody else. Yeah, that's why I'm covering it, because it belongs to somebody else. Ty said the best Andrew Jackson I've not spent in a club. There you go. All right. I think we got this. Let's see. I mean, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark anyway. So if they knock us out, they knock us out. Let's do it. Oh, we got one from,